Hello ECS Health Club members, and welcome to your mat. This class is a yin class, so we will be working with the connective tissue of the body, and we'll be using some props today to do that. We're going to be using 3 of the blankets that I suggested in the previous video and 2 blocks. So go ahead and if you need to pause the video and go get those props, and we'll meet you back here on the mat in a minute or so. All right, so now that we've got the props and we're ready to go, let me just give you a little information about what yin yoga is. With yin yoga, we're working with the connective tissue that connects bone to bone or muscle to bone. These connective tissues, like ligaments and tendons, are a lot hardier and harder tissue than muscle is. So if you think of muscles as being stretchy like a rubber band, then think of connective tissue as being like a leather belt. If you put the pressure on the leather belt for long enough, it will get longer, but it takes a while. So yin is a consistent practice, and you can take this class, watch this video, and follow along with it in your own body as many times as you'd like over this course period. So with our blankets, let's go ahead and make sure, let me just show you how I fold these, and I fold them the same for yin and restorative. So we've got the blanket, and the reason why we fold them this way is because it really helps with making sure that we're not sitting lopsided or uncomfortable and just our mind's like, when are we getting out of this pose? It really helps you to get deeper into the pose when you know that you are going to be absolutely comfortable, and which is why we use this style of blanket. So let me show you. I take and fold them. They're long like this, or big. I'm folding it the long way, making sure that the edges are all matching up. And then we fold it in half, making sure that the tassels are lining up evenly. And then we fold it one more time in half that way. And the tassels are kind of hanging out the bottom a little bit. See that? But the actual fabric is lining up. So let's place that on the mat. I'll show you a sideways view here. When we sit on our blankets, we're just lifting our hips up to allow the knees to come down further when we're in Sukhasana, a seated pose. Notice how I'm sitting right on the edge of the blanket here. This allows the pelvis to not be rounding back, but to actually sit up forward in just a gentle tip forward. It helps us to sit up nice and tall in our poses, in our seated poses. If that is still a little too close to the ground for you and you're feeling some tension in the knees or the hips, you can fold it in half again. See that? And then sit on the edge. So we're not sitting back, making our back rounded. We're sitting up towards the edge, cross-legged position. This allows the spine to be nice and tall and have that natural S curve to the low back. Just a gentle S curve. Good. So find out which way works best for you for your blanket. I am going to take mine at the lower setting. And we're going to start out with butterfly pose. So making sure that we always have our blocks close at hand. And I also like to make sure that there is a blanket, 2 blankets close by in case we need to use them to support the knees. This pose we will be holding for 5 minutes. Some poses we only hold for 3 minutes because we need to do both sides of the body. With this pose, we're going to take the soles of the feet together. You can rest the thighs and the calves on the blanket if you wish. You could even fold the blanket in half, make it a little sandwich shape if that is working for you. But we do want to feel a little bit of tension in the groin area and into the thigh area, because those are the tendons, the connective tissue and ligaments that we are wanting to stretch here. I like to use blocks to support the head, and you can rest a block on the feet and then put another block on top of it and rest your head on it. Sometimes you will see me switching positions from the side view to the front view. So you can see my feet are further away from me right now. If you like and it's more comfortable for you to have them in closer, that's fine. But then I don't suggest placing the block on your feet, because then your head, your back is too curved. So I like to, you can then place it on the earth if you need or want here. I like to have my feet a little bit further apart or a little bit further away from me. Place the block on them here. And notice how as I come forward, I'm not rounding into the low back to come forward. I am hinging forward at the hip creases and then allowing the upper back to relax down. If you want to get a little bit deeper stretch into the outer hips, feel free to take the blocks to lower levels, and you will feel this across the buttocks and the back of the hip muscles. So let's go ahead and take this position. I'm going to turn my timer on for 5 minutes. If the mind begins to wander during this pose, bring it back to your breath, just feeling the air move naturally in and out. If mind starts to wander with other things that need to happen in the day, a to-do list, or maybe things that happened earlier in the day, the mind is a muscle too, and we need to train it to release all of these thoughts that aren't happening right now. This is a practice of the here and now and helping you learn how to be in the moment. So let's go ahead and take that position, soles of the feet together, supporting the knees if desired, hinging forward at the hip creases, and coming forward and down and resting your forehead on a block. You can take the arms in front of you to relax. You can relax them down between the legs, whatever's feeling comfortable for your shoulders. And the timer is on. Just come to the sensation of the breath to help you shift from thinking and doing to feeling and being. Come to this time in this space. And perhaps set an intention for your practice today. Perhaps that intention sounds like, I will listen to my body by feeling each movement that I make and being in the moment. Perhaps your intention sounds like, I will practice being in my body today without judgment, without comparison, but with love and kindness for myself. Whatever your intention is, be with it now. Anytime during any pose, you can make micro adjustments if needed. We're not wanting to experience any sharp or shooting pain, but we do want to experience a deep stretch into the connective tissue while completely relaxing the muscles around those tissues. If you feel you are holding in the muscles, you can make micro adjustments. Perhaps resting your head down is too much. You can always support the upper body with the hands and arms. Oh, 30 more seconds here. You're doing a great job. Stay with your practice. Good. Now if the palms of your hands aren't already facing the earth, just flip them over and then use the strength of your arms to bring you up to a seated position, moving the blocks off to the side. And then take the hands to the outer knees and help them up. We'll just rest the arms on top of the knees. You may feel sensations through the legs and the thighs, maybe all the way down to the feet. This is the rebound pose. It's a counter pose. We want to make sure we're not moving too quickly out of these yin poses. Good. Now let's take the feet wide on the mat. You can turn sideways on the mat if having the feet on the floor is uncomfortable for the heels. Making sure we have our blocks nearby. And our blankets that are folded into the more narrow shape. So if you're feeling a lot of tension where the connective tissue is at the back of the knees and it's a pain, like painful, you can always slide the blanket underneath the back of the knees. Just to help release some of that tension. We do want a little bit of tension, a moderate amount of tension though, because that's how we can feel the connective tissue beginning to do its stretching, and it also helps with the fluid that is moving through the connective tissue to go into a phase change where it actually starts to be moving throughout the tissue. Otherwise, if you imagine, let's say, connective tissue like a sponge, and it has soaked up butter and become solid butter, it's kind of hard to wring out that sponge. That's what the connective tissue is when we do not have a yin practice. When we have a yin practice and we are holding these poses for a long time, imagine that butter melting. That's the phase change that the connective tissue is going through, and the fluid that is running through the fascia, muscles, and connective tissue begins to warm up and flow a little better. So here in Dragonfly, perhaps this is your pose. Sitting nice and tall, sitting on the edge of the blanket that we are sitting on. We've got the knees supported if that's where you are in your practice today. Maybe you have no blanket underneath the knees. Maybe you have it under one knee because you've got injury in that knee. Wherever you are at with your practice, if you place the hands down on the mat in front of you, maybe this is the stage you're at. And as you hold this pose, you walk the fingers forward and come down a little further to maintain that tension to the hamstrings on the back of the legs and then the inner thighs and groin. Maybe it's in your practice to lean all the way forwards. Maybe you would like to have a block to support your forehead. Wherever you're at in your practice today, I'm inviting you to take that pose, this pose, Dragonfly. Again, we will be holding this pose for 5 minutes, starting now. In yoga, we like to stay connected to our breath. Breath is the first thing we experience when we come into this world, and it's the last thing we experience when we leave. Air is the most important thing we can put in our body. We need to breathe to live. So just come to the sensation of the breath. Feel the cool air as it moves in through the nostrils. Notice the gentle shift to slightly warmer air as you exhale through the nostrils. Anytime you need to make an adjustment, micro adjustment, please do. Doing great. Stay with your practice. With any sensations that you're experiencing in the body. We have 1 more minute. If your head is resting on blocks, go ahead and move the blocks out of the way. Support yourself with your hands and arms as you come up to seated. And then we're going to take the hands to the inner edges of the knees and lean back. This helps us bring our legs back up. And then take that counter pose. Just resting the arms on the knees, feeling the body. Good. Taking that time to really be in touch and feeling the body helps us with proprioception, which is sort of a sixth sense of us knowing where our body sits in time and space. It's what allows us to be able to talk to someone while walking down the street and not running into mailboxes and garbage cans and stuff like that. It's just knowing where our body sits in time and space. And if your proprioception is off, you may trip a lot, kick furniture a lot, maybe the word is klutz. Maybe you have a tendency to be a klutz. So becoming in tune to your body, listening to your body, practicing that while you are in yoga poses helps to boost your proprioception. Let's go ahead and move into another pose that we are working with the hips today. If you can't tell, our hips and legs. So we're going to take shoelace now. And I would like you to go ahead and keep your blanket, one of your blankets, in this narrower fold. And we're going to take, we could take 1 or 2 boxes depending on how your sits bones fit onto the blocks. So I would like you, I'm going to invite you to take the blocks. And this is the reason why I'm giving this modification is because oftentimes people have very tight hips and it can be kind of difficult to get into this pose. So then we're going to take the blanket and place it on top of the blocks. And then we're going to sit squarely on top of those blocks, okay? With the knees bent, the feet out in front of us, we're going to reach underneath that left leg and grab a hold of the right ankle, bringing that knee to the ground. And let me show you this from a side view. Knees are bent, reaching underneath that left leg, bringing that foot over towards the right hip, below the right hip. Then we will be crossing the other leg over. Coming back to the frontal view. The knee is on the ground or on the mat. If this is too much for the knee, you can place a blanket underneath it. Now, we're going to cross the right leg over, or the left leg, whichever one you're working on. If it's in your practice to bring the knees closer together and placing the outer edge of the foot on the mat, both outer edges of the feet can be on the mat, okay? If you feel that you're coming forward, falling off of your blocks, you can remove the blanket. Come back to that position. I have shorter legs, so it felt like I was sort of going to fall off the front of my blocks. I need something a little shorter. So we're wanting to bring the knees close together, ultimately stacking them one on top of the other. If this is too much for you, you can place the sole of the foot to the mat here. We'll just place the hands onto the knees. If you like, you can lean forward, or you can stay sitting upright. This is shoelace. Just allow the arms to rest down. We're going to take this 3 minutes because we're doing both sides of the body, and we'll start that right now. Feel free to have your eyes open, but if you're wanting to come to center and feel your body, you can close your eyes, taking away that one of your 5 senses, the sense of sight. Emphasizing how you are feeling, being able to feel your body. Relax the jaw. Do a little body scan with your mind and see if there's any areas where you're gripping the muscles. Mindfully relax them. Just about 30 more seconds here. Very nice. this pose, support yourself behind you with your arms and lean back. This will help you unwind the legs and just coming to a counter pose. This is a pose that helps with the rebound. And then we'll move to the other side. So I'm reaching underneath that right leg now. And on this one, I'm going to remove one block because I feel like it may be inhibiting me from getting that full expression of bringing my foot down below that right hip. So let's move deeper into the pose by crossing the leg over, and each side of the body can be a little different. So perhaps where you were with the outer edge of the foot resting, both outer edges of the feet resting on the mat, maybe that's a little too deep for you for that side. So you can place the bottom of the foot on the mat, hands on the knee. Make sure that you're not tipping the hips because it may be too tight. You want to keep the hips squared with each other. And we're going to be taking this side for 3 minutes as well, working with Ida and Pingala, the feminine and masculine in our bodies. Again, you can close the eyes here. Soften the jaw and the spaces between the eyebrows. And perhaps just sit in the silence. Or you can focus on the sounds around you, inside, outside, whatever helps you to be here in this time and space, instead of allowing your mind to wander to the future or the past. About 30 more seconds. Again, taking the hands behind you for support and leaning back to unwind the legs, moving slowly, and taking a rebound pose. Good. So now we're going to move on to our backs. I will do my very best to help you see or to demonstrate the poses that we'll be taking on our backs. And always making sure we have blankets and blocks within reach. Also, not using a blanket for our head so that our head and our spine can be straight. So coming to sitting at the middle of our mat, support yourself as you come to lying down, and then stretch the legs out long. You can rock them side to side, shake them out if you wish. We're going to be taking a twisted pose here. And I'm going to take this pose that you can see me from the top view. So a block from one side and on the other so that they are available to us. And again, this is going to be 3 minutes per side. So with our soles of the feet to the mat, we're going to lift the hips up slightly, move them over to the left and set them down. And then extend that right leg long and draw the left knee into the chest. We'll then be rolling over onto the right side hip, and we can take a block and place that underneath that knee. If it's not coming completely to the ground, you can set the block at whatever setting feels good for you. If that left shoulder is coming off of the ground, I suggest making the adjustment to the block so that your shoulder that's opposite of your bent knee can rest towards the earth. And we will start this pose now. You can rest your hands on your belly, or you can rest them out to a T position with your arms out to the sides. Relax the right leg completely. If you'd like to look over that opposite shoulder, let you are twisted in, lift the head up, turn it, and then rest the head down. Make any micro adjustments that you need to, and then completely relax into the pose. Always check in with the muscles of the jaw. We have a tendency to clench our teeth, clench the jaw, or furrow the brow when we're feeling an intense stretch in the body. And just make a conscious effort to relax the face and the hands. breathe the breath. Notice if you're breathing normally or holding your breath. Alrighty, so let's roll onto our backs. Place the soles of the feet to the mat and straighten the hips back out. Bring the feet mat width apart and allow the knees to just lean in towards one another. Again, a counter pose, a rebound pose. Take a minute to notice if you are feeling more relaxed, calmer than you were when you started your practice. Just notice. Don't make any judgments or have any expectations. Just notice. And then we'll move to the other side. So just heel-toeing the feet back closer together, lifting the hips up and shifting them to the other side, and then lengthening that left leg. Drawing the right leg in towards the chest, and then rolling over onto that left hip. You've got a block right there handy, already waiting for you. Again, you can bring the hands to the belly and rest them there, or out to a T position if that feels good for you. This is your practice. And we'll start this pose now. Check in with the mind. Rally it back to the mat. And then rolling onto the back and taking that counter pose again. Feet mat width apart, allowing the knees to rest in towards each other. Taking that moment to really feel the body and notice any minute experiences. It could be just a feeling of relaxation in all the muscles and fascia. Maybe your body feels a little achy coming out of the pose. Well, the counter pose helps to give the body time to work through that phase change. Good. Now, while I've got us on our backs, we're going to go ahead and take our final pose. Every good yoga class ends with a good Shavasana. We're going to take pentacle or starfish pose. So taking the feet nice and wide, perhaps they're even off of the mat. Keeping the arms out to a T position. You could even raise them, bring them further above head or to a cactus shape like so, and resting them on the earth. Take a deep breath in through your nose and an audible exhale. We're going to take Shavasana for 7 minutes today. Release the jaw. Allow the eyes to rest heavy in the backs of their sockets. Begin to feel a wave of relaxation flowing from head to toe and toe back up to head. Imagine yourself as a clear glass tube, allowing energy to flow in both directions, down through the top of the head, through the spine to the perineum, and back from the perineum up the spine to the top of the head. And just let go, surrender. Keeping as still as possible and your eyes closed. Just feel the support of Mother Earth at your back and the quality of the air as it touches your skin. Start to bring some gentle movement into the fingers and the toes, and possibly even rocking your head from side to side. And carry that movement into wrists and ankles. And then drawing the knees into the chest and giving yourself a great big hug, maybe rocking side to side. And finding yourself coming to rest on your left side, you can support your head with your arm or a block. Taking a moment here to thank yourself for making it to your mat today. Taking the time to nurture yourself. Taking the time to slow down, shift into a state of rest and digest, just like we do in restorative. Giving our bodies a chance to start to heal itself. And when you're ready, keeping the eyes closed as much as possible, use the strength of your arms to press yourself up to a seated position on your mat. Bringing the palms together at the heart, paying homage with gratitude to all of those that have practiced yoga before us and after us. Namaste. The light within me sees and honors the light within you. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of your yoga practice today. Namaste.